A faded photograph slipped from a millionaire's leather wallet and landed at the feet of a struggling single father. The moment Rowan Mercer picked it up, every ounce of color drained from his face. His hands began to shake so violently that he almost dropped it again. The smiling woman in the picture wasn't someone who merely looked familiar. She was his late wife, Celeste, the woman he had buried 5 years earlier after believing every secret in her life had gone into the ground with her. Standing only a few feet away, the wealthy stranger reached for the photograph with trembling fingers, unaware that one ordinary accident had just shattered 2 lives forever. Before this unforgettable story continues, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change even the darkest lives, please like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community. 5 years had passed since Rowan lost Celeste to a sudden illness that left him raising their 6-year-old daughter, Maeve, completely alone. Every sunrise reminded him that another day had begun without the woman who had once filled every corner of their modest home with laughter. He had learned to braid Maeve's hair after countless failed attempts, pack school lunches before dawn, work long shifts repairing antique furniture, and somehow still smile whenever his daughter looked up at him with hopeful eyes. His own dreams had quietly disappeared beneath unpaid bills and endless responsibilities, yet he never allowed Maeve to feel the weight he carried. She believed her father was the strongest man in the world. Rowan wished he believed that himself. On a bright Saturday morning, he accepted a last-minute furniture restoration job at the sprawling estate of a well-known businessman named Alastair Hensley. The mansion stood like a monument to success, surrounded by perfectly trimmed gardens glowing beneath the afternoon sun. Rowan had repaired furniture for wealthy families before, but this estate felt strangely cold despite its beauty. Everything was flawless, yet nothing seemed truly lived in. While restoring an antique writing desk inside the grand library, Alastair accidentally dropped his wallet while searching for payment paperwork. Cards scattered across the polished floor. Rowan bent to help gather them, and then the worn photograph slipped free. Time stopped. The edges of the photograph were faded from years of handling, but there was no mistaking Celeste's gentle smile. She wore the same blue summer dress she had worn during their anniversary picnic many years earlier. Rowan remembered taking that photograph himself with an old camera that barely worked. No one else should have possessed it. His breathing became uneven. Alastair noticed Rowan staring and carefully took the photograph back, but the expression on Rowan's face revealed everything before a single explanation was needed. The millionaire quietly asked how Rowan knew the woman. The question felt almost cruel. Rowan answered that she had been his wife. For the first time in years, Alastair's confident posture disappeared. His shoulders lowered as though an invisible burden had suddenly doubled in weight. His eyes remained fixed on the photograph before slowly closing. Neither man could have imagined that the same woman had shaped both of their lives in completely different ways. Alastair invited Rowan onto the sunlit terrace overlooking the gardens, where the truth began unfolding piece by painful piece. More than 20 years earlier, before Rowan had ever met Celeste, she had spent one unforgettable summer volunteering at a coastal community center while attending university. During that summer she had met a young architecture student named Alastair. They became close friends who dreamed about changing the world through kindness rather than wealth. Their friendship remained innocent but deeply meaningful. Before graduation, life separated them. Alastair accepted an overseas opportunity while Celeste returned home to care for her seriously ill mother. Letters were exchanged for a while before eventually stopping altogether. Alastair admitted that he had searched for Celeste years later but discovered she had married and built a happy family. Rather than disturb her life, he chose to remain silent. The photograph had stayed inside his wallet ever since, not because he wanted to reclaim the past, but because she represented the person who had inspired him to become generous instead of selfish. Rowan wanted to believe him, yet questions still burned inside him. Why had Celeste never mentioned him? Why hide such an important friendship? Why had fate allowed this impossible meeting? As Rowan prepared to leave, Alastair quietly asked one unexpected question: did Celeste ever mention a small wooden music box? Rowan froze again. The music box still sat untouched inside a hallway cabinet at home. Celeste had treasured it but had never explained where it came from. She simply smiled whenever Maeve played its delicate melody. The following afternoon Rowan returned carrying the music box wrapped carefully in an old blanket. The instant Alastair saw it, tears filled his eyes. Years ago he had carved the box by hand as a farewell gift before leaving for Europe. Hidden beneath its velvet lining was a folded letter he had never expected anyone to find because Celeste had promised never to read it unless many years had passed and life somehow brought them together again. Neither of them had ever discovered the hidden compartment. Carefully opening the box, Rowan found the concealed space beneath the base. Inside rested a sealed envelope. The handwriting belonged unmistakably to Celeste. But the envelope was addressed to both of them. The room fell silent. Except for the distant singing of birds outside the open windows, Rowan unfolded the fragile letter with shaking hands. Celeste explained that if they were reading those words together, life had woven a path she could never predict. She confessed she had once feared Rowan might misunderstand the importance of Alastair, even though their relationship had never become romantic. She described Alastair as the first person who believed in her talent for restoring old artwork when everyone else doubted her. Without his encouragement she never would have pursued the career that eventually led her to the museum where she later met Rowan. She wrote that Rowan had become the love of her life in ways friendship could never equal. She thanked Alastair for giving her confidence. She thanked Rowan for giving her a family. She admitted she had planned to explain everything one day, but life had moved too quickly. Illness arrived before she found the right moment. Her final request left both men speechless. She asked them never to allow fear, jealousy, or misunderstanding to erase the goodness they had each brought into her life. Rowan lowered the letter. Years of quiet questions dissolved into overwhelming grief mixed with relief. The silence between the two men no longer felt hostile, it felt human. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Alastair began visiting Rowan's small workshop during the daytime, not as a millionaire inspecting an employee, but as a man trying to understand ordinary life again. He watched Rowan patiently restore broken chairs, cracked cabinets, and forgotten family heirlooms. Rowan explained that repairing furniture was less about wood than memories. Every scratch represented someone's life. Those words changed Alastair more than any business seminar ever had. Meanwhile, Maeve slowly grew comfortable around the quiet businessman who always carried colorful sketchbooks in his briefcase. She loved drawing old buildings while Alastair taught her simple architectural sketches beneath the bright afternoon sun in the local park. He never tried replacing her father. Instead, he simply became another caring adult who genuinely celebrated her imagination. Months later Rowan learned that Alastair's enormous charitable foundation existed because of one sentence Celeste had spoken decades earlier. People never forget how you made them feel. Those words had inspired scholarships, children's libraries, housing projects, and community workshops across several cities. Yet Alastair confessed that despite helping thousands of strangers, he had spent years feeling emotionally empty because he never thanked the person who first planted that seed of compassion. Now, unexpectedly, he had the chance to honor her through the family she left behind. He offered Rowan a generous financial gift. Rowan politely refused. He had survived difficult years without charity. Instead, he proposed something entirely different. Together they could restore abandoned community buildings into free learning centers where parents and children could create art, repair furniture, learn practical skills, and simply spend meaningful time together. The idea immediately reminded Alastair of the community center where he had first met Celeste. Construction began within weeks. Local volunteers arrived every sunny morning carrying paintbrushes, lumber, donated books, and hopeful hearts. Rowan taught woodworking classes while Alastair funded materials without placing his own name on the buildings. Every completed center displayed only a small wooden plaque bearing a simple message: kindness lives longest when shared. Maeve often sat beneath a large maple tree outside the first completed center, smiling as families filled the once-forgotten building with laughter. She finally understood that love could continue growing even after someone was gone. On the 5th anniversary of Celeste's passing, Rowan visited her favorite hillside overlooking the valley during a peaceful afternoon. Instead of bringing flowers alone, he brought photographs. One showed Maeve proudly holding her first woodworking project, another showed smiling families gathered inside the restored learning center. The last photograph captured Rowan, Maeve, and Alastair standing together beneath bright sunlight, united not by blood, wealth, or obligation, but by one remarkable woman's lasting influence. Rowan realized grief had never truly disappeared. It had simply transformed into purpose. before we reach the end of this story. Leave a meaningful comment below and tell us this: what do you believe is more powerful, love that lasts through memories, or forgiveness that creates a new future? Your thoughts may inspire someone reading the comments today. As Rowan walked back down the hillside holding Maeve's hand, he no longer felt like a man trapped by unanswered questions. The photograph that had once frozen him with shock had ultimately uncovered a truth far greater than betrayal. It revealed that one compassionate heart can shape countless lives in different ways without diminishing the love it gives. Celeste had left the world far too early, but her kindness continued building friendships, healing old wounds, creating opportunities for strangers, and reminding everyone that genuine love never asks people to compete. It asks them to become better. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Thank you for being part of our community, where stories of compassion, forgiveness, hope, and second chances remind us that even the deepest pain can become the beginning of something beautiful.